All right, in an earlier segment, Mr. Bailey, we were talking about the fudging of numbers as far as weights and measures are concerned, and I'm wondering if this is also true with the figures that we're getting out of these endeavors that we're participating in over in Iraq and Afghanistan. Are the casualty figures and the funding figures accurate, or are these being loaded too in order to be able to do I don't know what?
Basically, they're just as fudged with as any of the other numbers. The manner in which they do this is that if a person is not dead at the scene of a bombing, say roadside bombing, or killed in combat right then the death is a medical reason back in the rear area or on a chopper back to the field hospital. This is a combination of things, dealing with a combination of both funding, um, legal obligations. The basis of it is primarily that the DoD does not want to have to supplement what they're spending already in terms of, as an example, they sent our troops over with no body armor and no armored Humvees. That doesn't strike me as being too swift. At least the gun I had in Vietnam shot. I didn't have body armor, but there's plenty of places to hide. In the desert, it's kind of flat, and you don't have that compensation. But the KIA ratio is it has improved. The reason it has is that our medical capability to keep someone alive who is brain dead is at the point where a lot of the soldiers that have extreme traumatic brain injury due to being blown up, and the concussion catches the underside of the helmet and concentrates on their head, or just the concussion of the wave of the explosion smashing into you, or you're riding along in a vehicle and you're inside and the explosion goes off out here and you get hit, you get bounced, like getting T-boned in an intersection. Okay, these sorts of things, they've been able to save a lot of people they normally wouldn't have. A lot of the people that they have saved would have died as recently as Vietnam, as an example. When you lose a leg, there was a lot of people that didn't know to put a tourniquet on it. I mean, you know, simplistic things. Then you had the problem of the logistics of getting that person out of the area. Okay, in Iraq and Afghanistan, we flooded it with troops and capability to an extent where we could more quickly get the injured out. In other words, the medevac was a lot faster because there were auxiliary bases. The Marines would go in, take a small hilltop, put a perimeter around it, and the birds would take and drop the people off, and then come back to that and wait. Cut their engines, and they'd wait. And as soon as somebody really needed something, they'd fire one up, and off he goes. By the time they would get somebody, say, from midway of Iraq up to, say, the northern part, the guy had already been dead. Well, in this manner, they can take the chopper, run right out, grab him, and go right back to the hospital of the guy. So, like I say, being able to save somebody who's would be normally brain dead, has lost limbs, or has other major injury, those things have improved to the point now where we don't have as many KIA. But on the other hand, people who do not die right away, like if they get on the chopper and they're medevac and they die on the chopper, that's a medical, not a KIA. Very big difference, okay? And this affects a combination of funding and things of that nature, is from what I can understand of it.
Well, doesn't this also affect the benefits and everything, as the person, you know, where he would have been a KIA if he's been able to be sustained through medical intervention? Doesn't that change the responsibility of the government and everything also?
Yes, it does. The problem with all of that in conjunction is that they take care of people who are traumatically injured in great form. In other words, 2 limbs or an extreme brain trauma, they have a tendency to take care of those people right away. The rest of the people who are not as severely injured, they tend to slough that care off. Okay, we bring you back. It's going to be 6 months before you get to see somebody, etc. If it happens then. Now, you have to remember that the DoD and VA, their first obligatory response is no. If they can, they'll pin everything on a pre-existing condition. In other words, if you were a problem teenager, that's where your PTSD came from. It isn't us. Well, I'd like to take a few of those guys and blow them up and see how they do afterwards. You know, it's very simple.
Very interesting. So actually all the statistics and figures and the money that we're spending and everything over there is totally meaningless. And does this also apply to the mercenaries, to the Blackwater people? Are they included in these figures of the KIA? It's my
No.
understanding that none of their
No.
wounding or being killed in action, none of that's included in the totals in any way, shape, or form. Is my understanding correct?
Exactly. They are an independent private contractor, and the thing you have to remember is that because they are not associated directly with the military, what you end up with is a totally separate deal. That's why now the only thing that you're finding are the references to the wanton murders in front of regular troops. You have rules of engagement where you don't shoot women and kids that don't have guns, basically. You don't go out specifically to kill wounded combatants, whoever your opposition might be, whether they're official or not. And yet, these guys apparently went in and murdered at one point 17 people. There's 6 or 8 or 10 of them or something like that on trial for that. Well, the Iraqi people in the government have been complaining about these things for a long time, and they're really getting upset. And if they push it too far, then the Iraqi people, just as we did in Vietnam, are going to start joining up with the adversary forces. You're going to have a problem.
Well, I find this very interesting. Again, if all the figures are incorrect and the premise for the war is incorrect, I don't really see where we can take any information that we're being given and accept it. Is that a pretty good supposition, or, you know, we're just being lied to? Again, we're getting shortchanged and screwed. Isn't that true?
Well, yeah. It seems like the veterans are not being taken care of the way they should. They're not being apprised of benefits, etc. So, yeah, I'd say that they're taking our finest, using them up like they did in Vietnam. And if you get problems 30 years later, we'll think about it.
Well, this has been very interesting. This is the kind of material that we're going to be covering here at the Church of the Muzzle Flash. We're going to be talking about Veterans Affairs, science, lying, politicians, all the things that none of the controlled media cover. If you like what you're hearing here, please come back. We're a nation of doers. We accept donations. This is Drake Bailey. My name's Ray Stoner. We're the founders and co-founders of the Church of the Muzzle Flash. We have another gentleman here. He's our technical advisor, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you for stopping in. This has been most enlightening.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.